What's going on, car family? I'm Ben Wayne, back with another video. Today we're here at Atlanta Classic Cars to take a look at the 2016 Mercedes-AMG C63 S sedan. This car was initially launched at the Detroit Auto Show back in 2014 and is classified as a compact executive car. So today we're going to take a look at some of the features of the exterior and interior and see how this ride has been engineered for excellence. One of the first things you're going to notice about this C63 is that it's based off the 4th generation C-Class designed by Robert Lesnick. It looks exactly like its bigger brother, the S-Class, except it's able to keep the lines proportional with respect to the size of the car. One of the most significant features about this C63S is the fact that it incorporates the use of MRA, which stands for Modular Rear Architecture. This means aluminum and high-strength steel is used throughout the body, and this results in a 220-pound weight reduction from the previous generation C-Class. Now let's cover some of the major technical changes from the base C-Class to this C63S. Now on the C63S, the front and rear axles have been revised and integrated with AMG components for a weight reduction and additional rigidity. The front axle is also 1.2 inches wider than the standard C-Class. The C63S also features revised elastokinematics and wheel location, which will result in a higher negative camber. That'll get you better handling around corners. Now let's talk briefly about the wheel and brake setup of the C63S. In the front, your wheels are 8.5 by 19 inches in diameter, and they come fitted with 15.4-inch brake rotors that have been slotted, drilled, and internally ventilated. They are grasped by 6-piston fixed calipers. In the rear, your wheels are 9 by 19 inches in diameter, and they come with 14.2-inch brake rotors that are also slotted, drilled, and internally ventilated. They also incorporate the use of an aluminum center bowl for a weight reduction. Now let's focus briefly on the rear of the C63S. Now you're going to notice that there's been a spoiler placed on top of the trunk lid. That's placed there for enhanced stability. Now let's go over to the tail lights. The tail lamps feature a dual torch fiber optic design, which looks pretty cool at night in low light conditions. Coming further down, the C63S incorporates the use of the AMG Dynamic Performance exhaust system. And what's cool about this exhaust system is that it incorporates the use of a computerized vane, which opens and closes based on throttle loads and enhances the car's sound. It sounds pretty epic. We'll get to that part a little bit later. Now let's talk briefly about the heart of the C63S. Under the hood, you're going to find a 4-liter biturbo V8 that incorporates the use of the turbos inside the V configuration of the motor. Mercedes-Benz calls this the hot inside V configuration. Now this should sound familiar to you because we discussed the same motor in the AMG GTS, except there's some key differences. For example, in the C63S application, it incorporates the use of a wet sump lubrication system as opposed to the dry sump lubrication system you'll find in the AMG GTS. This results in the engine sitting a little taller in the C63S. Now the 4-liter biturbo V8 found in the C63S is capable of producing 503 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 516 pound-feet of torque at a very low 1,750 RPM, and that stays flat all the way to 4,500 RPM. Now this motor is connected to the 7-speed AMG SPEEDSHIFT MCT transmission. The MCT stands for Multi-clutch technology. So this is not a dual-clutch transmission. It's really just a traditional automatic transmission which uses multi-clutch packs and ditches the torque converter. It's able to get you a 0 to 60 time in just 3.9 seconds. Now that we've covered some of the details of the motor and the transmission, let's close the hood and take a look at some of the interior features. Now that we're inside the car, let's take a look at the dash and the center console. So coming towards the center console, you'll notice that the top of the dash is covered in a soft black leather and has contrast stitching going across the vehicle. You have a nice and large display screen that's high resolution for your infotainment system. Coming further down, you have 3 large air conditioning vents and controls for your dual zone climate control. Coming further down, you have your CD player, navigation, radio, media, telephone controls, and then you also have a button here for your hazards. Here you have nice AMG lettering since this is a C63. Press down, and you have 2 cup holders here. Now coming towards the center portion of the console, you'll see that you have a large assortment of buttons here. Let's go over them really briefly. Here's your AMG Dynamic Select controls, which allows you to select different driving modes of the car. We'll cover that in a little bit more detail later. This button is to drive in manual mode. Here's for your suspension control, and this is for your electronic stability program. Coming towards the other side, you have controls for your volume, power for the infotainment system, and this button is if you want to drive in eco mode. So the car will cut the motor off if you're at a stoplight, and then when you release your foot from the brake, it'll cut back on. Now let's talk more about AMG Dynamic Select. AMG Dynamic Select allows you to drive the car in one of 5 different modes. There's an individual mode, which allows you to tailor each of the engine, suspension, and transmission mappings to how you see fit. Comfort mode is pre-selected for you for a soft ride. Sport mode is slightly more aggressive. Sport Plus decreases shift times and raises shift points. And race mode is the most aggressive for the throttle, suspension, and transmission settings. Now the steering wheel to the C63 S is pretty nice. It's very thick, which gives me a confident feeling in my hands. It features Dynamica inserts on the side and contrast stitching throughout. It also features a race-inspired flat bottom. It also has multi-function controls on either side, and then you have thick aluminum paddles on the back for downshifting and upshifting while driving in manual mode. Let's cover the door panel really briefly. As you can see here, it's covered in soft black leather and has gray contrast stitching going the length of the door. You also have this nice brushed aluminum finishing, which matches the Burmester speakers here as well. You have 3 levels of heating for the seats, and the seats are 14-way adjustable with 3-position memory. Coming further down, you have your unlock and lock button and an aluminum door handle. There's also storage at the bottom of the door here. Now let's start up the C63 S and hear how that 4-liter biturbo V8 sounds. So how did that AMG Performance exhaust system sound? Pretty good, huh? That was a brief overview of the 2016 Mercedes-AMG C63 S sedan. That is a very long title. Anyway, if you're interested in this Mercedes-Benz or any other model, please be sure to contact my friend Jesse Canon-Wallace here at Atlanta Classic Cars. Please be sure to share, like, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Now let's scroll over to Maps here and give a demonstration of how easily Siri can provide you navigation directions. So I'm going to scroll over to Maps, press down on the wheel, press the voice command button on the steering wheel. Give me directions to Fat Matt's Barbecue.
Getting directions to Fat Matt's Rib Shack.